Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome everyone here, the public and our colleagues, for the April meeting of the Washington County Quorum Court. With that, we're going to open up the meeting in prayer and pledge tonight. J.P. Ecke has agreed to do us the honor of that. Justice Ecke?
Thank you, Judge, for the honor. Will you please stand and bow your heads? Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for springtime because it's a reminder of that which was dead is now alive again. And that is the season that we're in. That's why we celebrate Passover and Resurrection Sunday and Easter. And we want to thank you for life's cycles. We offer up to you tonight's meeting, and we ask your blessing and your anointing of wisdom, understanding, and great insight. Because without you, we can't do anything. But with you, we know that we can do all things, for all things are possible. So let your will be done and bring the impossible to possibility for us. We ask your blessing upon Washington County's residents, law enforcement, elected officials, and their families. And we thank you and praise you for loving us as much as you do. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you so much for that, Justice Ecke. Now we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion or additions to the agenda? Justice Lyons?
We have two additions to the agenda. One is to discuss the ordinance repealing the ordinance for the Eagle Crest Cup to get that to the planning board for the next step. And then the second one is, I believe, the new zoning law. I think there are a couple of us that have amendments that we found additional issues in that we need to resolve.
Okay. Second. I have a motion by Justice Lyons to add the two items, second by Justice Rios Stafford. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Those will be added to the agenda. Justice Lyons, pending any rebuttal by you, we'll take the Eagle Crest up first and then the planning ordinance, if that's okay. So the Eagle Crest will be new item number 9, and the planning ordinance will be new item number 10. Are there any further amendments to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt. I have a motion to adopt as amended by Justice Lyons, second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Excuse me. Preliminary motions, item number 4, Justice Dean.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. I got a motion, read all ordinances and resolutions by title only.
Motion to read ordinances and resolutions by title only by Justice Dean.
Second.
Second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ordinances and resolutions will be read by title only. Item number 5, citizen comments. We have a 15-minute citizen comment period with a limit of 3 minutes per individual. Citizen comments this evening.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenneth Lovett. I have, there we go. It's my opinion we have a problem in Arkansas.
Mr. Levitt, will you please add where you live for the record, please?
Sure. 18702 Clearwater Road.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. In my opinion, we have a problem in Arkansas concerning responsibility directly related to ADQ and the regulation of waste management EcoVista. We have a problem in Washington County with authorities ignoring hazardous vapors, exposing citizens to hazardous vapors, in my opinion, emitted from the day-to-day operations of the gas plants at EcoVista. I've talked with ADEQ and others over the past 4 years, and they have consistently failed to show concern or investigate the issue properly, identify the emission point, although they did identify 5 hazardous chemicals in the community, one being acrolein at 4,900% over EPA RSL, regional screening levels, and benzene at 209% over EPA RSL. On January 14th, 2025, I was exposed 3 times over 2 hours while driving on Arbor Acres in front of the landfill. I made a call on Friday, 1/24 at 7:21 p.m. to 911 in Washington County. The following week, I reached out to the Washington County Emergency Management Operations, John Luther. Instead of him responding, Washington County Judge responded that all questions should be addressed to his office. I requested assistance from WEMO, Washington County, concerning response to vapors from the landfill. The judge explained all calls should be addressed to 911. With that info, I reached out for information concerning my 911 call on the previous week, January 14th. The information I received from the sheriff's office was, when I was inquiring, was your request was received and reviewed, and they had one document, and that was my 911 call. I contacted Central EMS, because they said that's who responded, and received the following reply. This is the reply from the EMS. I reached out to my deputy chief, Shauna Ross, who spoke with the battalion chief, Mandy Moore, who reviewed the 911 call. Tawnytown City Fire Department was dispatched, but since no one was reported sick or injured on the scene, we were not dispatched. So I reached out to Tawnytown to receive that report. On January 14th, 2025, at approximately 19:26 p.m., Engine 3352 and Command 3392 responded to the area of South Pinoto Arbor Acres to a spell of gas call. My call was due to chemical vapor issues, not gas. There is a difference. The report stated upon arrival, no spell of gas was located. The call was for hazardous vapors. We need a team equipped in Washington County that can handle hazardous material response. Why
Thank
does
you,
it
Mr.
continue
Levitt.
to be
That-
ignored?
Your time has expired, sir.
Yes, sir, I appreciate
Thank you.
that. But if you're going to put it off on Tawnytown, they need to have a
Public
budget
comments?
for it.
Any public comments?
They need to have a budget for
I
it.
appreciate you, sir. We have other people with public
Ignoring the
comments.
problem does not help.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen, justices.
Just a second, sir. I'm sorry. You're gonna hit that button on the bottom right down there? The button on the bottom right? Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
And then please introduce yourself and where you're from. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Tim Watson. I'm an attorney here in town. I'm at 58 East Elm here in Fayetteville. I, until recently, was the chairman of the Washington County Law Library Board. The Washington County Law Library exists to serve the needs of an underserved community in Washington County, people that can't afford an attorney and need some legal help because one way or another they're going to end up in court. Without going through the backstory of the last year, there has been some discussion with the county judge's office over the last year about the dissolution of the Washington County Law Library. The Washington County Law Library exists by ordinance in Washington County. On March 24th, the board members of the Washington County Law Library received an email from Catherine Baker, who at that time was serving on the board for the law library, letting us know that because, as the judge's office believed, we had failed to take some actions that were necessary and that we were actually not board members, that the board was vacant. And at that point, the county judge had seated some people on the board himself, including himself, and furthermore, had acted to dissolve the law library.
I'm not on the law library board.
I've got an email from Ms. Baker. This was what I received from Ms. Baker.
Sure. I'm just trying to clear up the record.
Sure. The Washington County Law Library exists by ordinance. The attempt by the county judge's office to dissolve the law library is in violation of that ordinance. It did not affect the dissolution of the law library. While the law library board may not exist, there is no authority in that ordinance, and it's Washington County Ordinance 220.02, for the county judge's office to decide who's going to sit on the board. That ordinance suggests that the board will be nominated by the Washington County Bar, and that the county judge's office shall appoint those 5 members to the law library board. Now, importantly, at the time this act was taken by the county judge's office, the law library had $420,000 that belonged to the law library by statute. It has come to the attention of the Washington County Bar that on the agenda tonight is a request for the Quorum Court to appropriate some $500,000 of funds. This issue regarding the Washington County Law Library is probably going to result in some judicial intervention. The Washington County Bar is moving to renominate 5 members to sit on the board and intends to send those nominations to the county judge's office and expects the judge to follow
Thank
the
you, sir.
ordinance.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and add 3 minutes by Justice Koger, second by Justice Pond. All those in favor? Those opposed? Continue, sir.
Thank you. In short, in summary here, the act of seating the board by the county judge's office is contrary to the ordinance that Washington County has for the law library. Even if it wasn't, the law library has no authority to dissolve itself. The law library exists by ordinance. The only way the law library can be dissolved is by ordinance. And so we are in the process, Washington County Bar is in the process of renominating the 5 members of the board for the law library, which very much still exists, and hope that the county judge's office will follow the ordinance and appoint those members to serve on the board. To the extent that does not happen, there is going to be some judicial intervention. And I would submit on behalf of the Washington County Bar that to the extent the $500,000 is on the agenda tonight includes money that belongs to the law library, it may be imprudent for the Quorum Court to appropriate that money at this time. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments? Seeing none, we'll continue on. Item number 6 is approval of the minutes. The minutes were handed or delivered with the packet. Are there any corrections with on the minutes? If not, I'll accept a motion to accept. Motion to accept the minutes by Justice Dean, second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That item, or the minutes have been accepted. Now for the county judge's report. I am very excited and also always want to thank our Extension office for providing the snacks, showing a little bit of love on us and hosting us here in our own house. Tonight the snacks were provided by the Goshen Extension Homemakers Club, and I'm very excited to have them each time, and thank you so much to them. The disposal reports are in your packet. I have extra comments now. Ms. Baker will send out some background information on Mr. Watson's just shared with us. There is no more embarrassing way of an organization to spend money than what the law library has done over the past year, and I cannot wait to share that with you, ladies and gentlemen. And so, Ms. Baker, please add that to your tasks tomorrow. We'll get you guys some information and background on this from our point of view. I have been on the road with our road department for the last 48 hours. I'm sorry to look so casual in this, but I am so excited to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that we, I believe, have innovated and made history in Washington County again. I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all your support of our road department. We have been out south of Elkins on Black Oak that connects South Elkins down here to South Fayetteville. We have innovated a new process on our roads that we're dubbing road forging, just to have a good trade name for it. But what it is we can take a chip seal road and cover it with what's essentially a fog seal or an oil-based product. What we hear is, I want you guys to feel, let me back up and just say, we did an historic 200 miles of chip seal last year because we had to. There was no vanity in that. We had to get life back in our pavement. But we also heard from the citizens quite regularly that while historic and appreciated, there are some major drawbacks with chip seal. We all know that. The dust. It's a very financially advantageous way to do road paving, and I think we all agree with that. I hear very often that, well, asphalt's better. Absolutely, and nobody argues that either. It's 3 times the price. And when you got 1,000 road miles you're trying to cover, it's very, so all that to say, I want you guys to try to appreciate all through last year, we were working our machinery and our men and women so hard. And in the midst of that, they're also getting all the criticisms of that chip seal process, of which they don't control. The process is the process. And in that environment, we tasked them to do something innovative for the first time. And we told them to do that with no more money from John Q. Public and to make it work. And I am proud of our road leadership team to say they got with their vendors, they started looking through products and discovered the usage for this. So I want to thank our vendor, Ergon Asphalts and Emulsions. They've been on site with us the last 2 days, watching this process, helping us. And what I want to say is we are very hopeful that this will be the new road standard in Washington County. It will add durability and also aesthetics to the road. We want to have the roads striped with both center line and fog line. And I don't think if you've noticed, we've also started putting reflectors on some of our roads. We got a lot of compliments of that the last few weeks when all the heavy rains came through. There were some people on those roads that had called into our office and said, we couldn't see the road if not for the reflectors because of all the water on it. So I want you guys to just be proud that your road leadership team is doing something very innovative. We are asking them to go above and beyond the call of duty, and they are doing that. Black Oak, I think, looks wonderful today. It will be striped tomorrow, and that is our new road standard. I would invite every one of you JPs to go out, drive that road, look at that road, ask us any questions. We would love to introduce you to that process. I also want you guys to respect and give grace that we are innovating and that we think this is incredibly good. And we'll see how this goes. We're the first in the county. Once again, we trailblaze. And so I hope you guys look back over the last couple years and think about how much history we're making as a county. Mental health court, CRI, our road processes, and I want to thank you for that. None of that could be possible without your help and your support here, and your help and your support for our staff and our road department and all of our staff across the county. Thank you so much for that. And I know I've taken a lot of time here to really dote on our road team, but I think that's deserved when you ask people to step up above and beyond the call of duty, and they've done it. They have absolutely 100% done it, and I'm so proud of those people.
The big machine, the grinder, how does that tie in with what you did?
That's mostly a dirt road machine, but I'll also mention that we would like to, I don't know if you guys remembered a couple years ago, we did a road tour. We are interested in doing that again for the Justices of the Peace if you'd like to do that. What we did is we kind of got a bus, and we just bussed you around to some of the more consequential projects we had going on as the county. We try to show you the good and the bad and the ugly. We're planning to put that together again. We would like to wait till later in the summer or possibly the fall so that we have some more work product to show you, specifically with regard to these new innovative things that we're doing. So what I've told, and I want you guys to know our hopes and our dreams and where we're moving. Last year was quantity because it had to be. We had to get life back in our pavement. But this year we want to innovate. It's quality and it's bridges, and that's happening. And I appreciate that very, very much. Justice Lyons, did you have something, sir?
What was the road?
Black Oak Road.
Black Oak. Thank you.
Black Oak Road. We also had a viral video of Black Oak Bridge go viral a couple weeks ago of us trying to clean out the debris between underneath that bridge and save it. I'm very proud of our road department team for that also, that kind of work. So with that, I have one appointment. Marla Pearson is going to join the planning board. You understand that we've had a hard time recruiting individuals for the planning board, and we're very excited that she's showed interest. And so with that, I have the nomination of Marla Pearson.
I'd like to make a motion, Judge.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Justice Ecke, I should have recognized you.
That's all right. Thank you, Judge. I'd like to make a motion that we accept Marla Pearson to the Planning Board.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Justice Lyons. All those in favor? Those opposed? Congratulations to Ms. Pearson. Next up, I believe, is our consent agenda. Counselor, will you read those items by title only?
Item 1 on the consent agenda is an ordinance appropriating $20,000 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the Quorum Court budget for 2025. Item 2 on the consent agenda is an ordinance appropriating $500,000 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the EOC Construction Project Fund budget for 2025.
Justice Lyons?
I move we pass the consent agenda.
I have a motion to pass the consent agenda by Justice Lyons, a second by Justice Dean. Any further discussion? Justice Koger?
Yes, thank you, Judge. I'm curious about what Mr. Watson said. Is part of this $500,000 from the law library?
No. Any other discussion? We had a motion and second. Any public comments on the consent agenda? Justice Dennis?
Excuse me for, the acronyms, EOC, I know we know what it is, but whenever, I tried to watch a meeting the other day on the planning board, and when you're at home watching, it's so different than being here. You don't always know what's happening, and I think EOC, construction project doesn't tell our constituents what we're spending 500,000 on. I know what it is, but I don't think that they do necessarily, so.
So are you wanting to
Emer-
amend it to
emergency.
use the full
Go ahead.
name?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just want to let the public know what it.
Oh, you're just,
what
okay.
it- what the
Yeah,
acro-
EOC, oh,
What the
gotcha.
acronym means.
Yes, sir.
Because if you're at home and you don't have another person to ask, it's like, what does that mean? So,
Absolutely.
if you would, just,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you. Public comments?
Will we have an opportunity to speak on each one of them, or do we need to speak right now?
You need to
Concern-
speak for both of them right now.
Okay. Previously, I don't know if it was this year or last year, this horseshoe approved $1 million for this EOC. We don't know where this money's going. Another 500,000 for what? Did it not have a budget to start with? Did it not have a number that it cost? Why are you continually putting this into the budget?
Mr. Levitt, this is your chance to address the group.
Okay.
We're not,
The group needs to look at what the purpose is for this money, because it don't make no sense to me to set aside to build something that's useless except for wind and rain and hurricane and tornadoes, and you don't use it for anything else. You have citizens in this area that needs emergency management services that y'all are ignoring, and you're steady putting money in there, not getting anything done. That's my opinion. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Any more public comments? Seeing none, we'll take up the question. Mr. Allen, will you please call the roll? I have a motion to pass the consent agenda by Justice Dean, second by Justice Lyons.
Justice Wilson? Yes. Justice Massengill? Yes. Justice Rivera Lopez? Yes. Justice Lyons? Yes. Justice Ecke? Yes. Justice Dean? Yes. Justice Washington? Yes. Justice Coger? Yes. Justice Dennis? Yes. Justice Hires? Yes. Justice Rios Stafford? Yes. Justice Lemming? Yes. Justice Ricker? Yes. Justice Pond? Yes. Justice Bruns? Yes.
That passes. Thank you for that. Now we're going to move to the new items of the agenda. We have a couple planning ordinances on the agenda this evening. At this time, I would like to invite the group to elect a temporary chair to give this group continued efforts to go through the planning ordinance. I know that I've been criticized as being too much into that process, and I think it would give us the optics and the space to breathe and continue to do that. I had talked a little bit, not to override the group's wishes, but Justice Lyons was ready to lead the meeting this evening, specifically because he has specific business he would like to address. But I would appreciate that if we could make a nomination for temporary chair, and that way the group can continue on in this fashion. I have a motion by Justice Dennis to elect Kyle Lyons as temporary chair, second by Justice Dean. All those in favor? Those opposed? Justice Lyons, would you like to take the seat, sir?
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the confidence you put in me. I think the first new business we decided was on the Eagle Crest proposal. Counselor, can I have you introduce that and provide whatever comments?
All right, so item 9 is an ordinance repealing ordinance 2023-26. For those of you that are new, last year, the Quorum Court denied a CUP request for Eagle Crest Recovery, which was a substance abuse treatment home. In doing so, that was denied by the Quorum Court. It came clear to the county attorney's office that we were in jeopardy of violating some federal law, and so the Quorum Court repealed that ordinance that denied the CUP. That was then challenged by some of the neighbors. Well, it was actually challenged by Eagle Crest, was already in a lawsuit, and the neighbors intervened. And the court ultimately, Judge Martin found that the Quorum Court did not follow the proper order because technically that was a change, global change to our entire zoning ordinance, and that it should have had public comment at a planning meeting. So we are currently in some federal litigation regarding this issue as well. But one of the issues to clear this issue up, I'm suggesting that the court vote to send this back to the planning board for a public meeting, which would happen May 1st, and then it would come back to the Quorum Court for reconsideration.
J.P. Ecke?
I'd like to make a motion that we send this back to the planning board for reconsideration.
Any discussion? J.P. Coger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Attorney Lester. So last April, this court passed ordinance number 2024-36, and it repealed ordinance 2023-26, and it said that Eagle Crest could operate without the requirement of a conditional use permit. So I don't understand why we're repealing it again.
Sorry.
Because the circuit court found that we didn't follow the proper procedure when we didn't have a public hearing at the planning board before we passed that ordinance. And so
Which ordinance?
the 2024 ordinance repealing 2023-26.
Okay.
So in order to follow the proper procedure, I'm suggesting that we send this to the court, to the planning board, the May 1st meeting. There will be a public hearing for the public to come and speak on it, and then it'll come back to the Quorum Court for consideration. So basically, the circuit court overturned the ordinance saying that we didn't follow the proper procedure, so now we're trying to follow that proper procedure.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Public comment? No public comment on this? Okay, sorry.
There's no public.
Sorry, there's no comment for this. Apologize.
There is zero public comment for this?
Yes, ma'am. Roll call.
No, I just do a voice vote.
Okay. So we have a motion to pass this back to the planning board for a special meeting by J.P. Ecke, second by J.P. Staffer. All those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, that passes. We'll go back to the planning board. The second new item is the zoning ordinance that we have, which again is trying to get back to the planning board to go through a special meeting. I believe we've got a couple of amendments due to some issues we have found with those, and I think some of those has started. So we'll start with J.P. Stafford, if you want to start with yours, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I passed out an updated version of my amendment to everyone. It's the longer one that's stapled together. This is about 10 pages. So in, the Arkansas legislature just adjourned during their session. They passed what is now Act 314, which was approved on March 18th. And what Act 314 does is that it abolishes territorial jurisdictions throughout Arkansas. And so this has happened while we've been in the process of putting together this ordinance. It was supposed to go to, if you'll remember where we were last, we'd sent this ordinance to the Planning Commission for a public hearing as required by law. That public hearing was supposed to have happened last week. Unfortunately, there was not a quorum of planning board members. And so that meeting did not happen. It's going to be rescheduled. But my thought was that we could take this opportunity to do some cleanup in this ordinance. and go ahead and remove these territorial jurisdiction references in this ordinance, since those have now been abolished by the legislature. I sent out an original version over email a few days ago, but working with Dr. Atta and a little bit with Mr. Lester. Mr. Atta let me know there were more references than what I had found because they're under different names. So you'll see in this new version, what's highlighted is the really important part, that we're going to remove all references in the ordinance to territorial jurisdictions, including references to extraterritorial planning areas, city planning areas, and planned growth areas of cities. And then if folks want to take a minute to just sort of look through everything that's being removed, has a strike through in it. Anything that's being added, there's very little that's being added except some page numbering is changing or some section numbering is changing. Those are underlined. The strike, everything with the strike through comes out. Oh, okay. Yep, everything lined through is coming out because it's referring to things that are going to no longer exist. As soon as this, I think it goes into effect, I think in August. Not sure, but the idea is this thing is still in progress. That way we don't have to go through this whole process twice. And with that, I make a motion to amend the ordinance to remove all references to territorial jurisdictions.
Second.
I've lost my mind this week, by the way. Any additional discussion? JP Dennis? Oops, wrong button. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respect you for all this work, but at the same time, I haven't read it, and so I'm not going to vote on it if I haven't read it. And so I think I appreciate bringing it forward, but I think it's got to go through committee and then back to here. I don't think we start here and vote on it.
We go from here to the planning board. And so we're trying to get everything into the ordinance for the special meeting. Otherwise, we're going to bounce back and forth, Counselor.
Okay, well, explain to me the emergency, and that way the folks at home can also hear the emergency of why we should decide so quickly.
Well, there's no emergency, but you've got to have a public hearing. And so because we weren't able to have the public hearing, it still gives this body the opportunity to make some proposed amendments before there's a public hearing and before it comes back to the committee to then discuss further and for the Quorum Court to discuss further and make any other committees. Anytime you make a change, it's got to go back for a public hearing. And so in order to prevent further delay in this, JP Stafford wanted to try to get this amended now so that it can go to that public hearing and the public can have hearing. And her amendments strictly are going to make what we currently have. So any way we do this, we've got to change what we've got. We've got to make these changes because this idea of extraterritorial jurisdiction goes away because the legislature did away with that. So there is no future growth area or future planning area for cities once that goes into effect. So we either do it with this or we're behind the 8 ball doing it later. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's just a timing thing of how to get this done. So her changes are not substantive other than complying now with the Arkansas state law.
Okay, thank you. That
But
explains it.
this body will have the opportunity, and we'll go through the whole readings, and we'll go through the debate, and then there'll be the public comment. But we've also got to send this to the planning board for a public comment as well.
Very good, thank you.
JP Coger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate what Mr. Lester just said, but I make a motion to send this ordinance back to the County Services Committee for these amendments.
Is there a second? Okay, that motion fails due to no second. JP Massengill, did you?
Yeah, do we know when the law goes into effect that we're trying to get ahead of?
You thought it was August. Do you know when it goes into effect?
Top of my head, I don't.
Okay. And then the other thing is, are we aware of any other laws that are gonna impact the planning ordinance? This is the only one that passed the legislature? Okay. I guess I'm a little bit concerned about not knowing when the law goes into effect. I'd hate for this to get ahead of the actual, law itself.
Yeah, I'm not, I guess I'm gonna look to Sam to see if he's aware of anything else that we're gonna have to change.
Good evening, everyone. Normally, it takes effect 90 minutes after the end of the session, and I
90
believe the
days.
session ends by then. 90 days, yeah. 90 days after the end of the session, so I guess like the session is gonna end like soon. 90 days will make it like maybe about July.
July 1st of August,
Yeah.
end of July 1st
Yep.
of August, yeah.
That's it.
JP Ecke?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. In this, it says our ordinance to Arkansas Act 314, but when you look up Act 314, it has nothing to do with this. So I would like to know, is that House Bill 1510 that was signed, and it repeals the authority for the municipalities to exercise territorial jurisdictions over an unincorporated area?
Yes, that's most likely the House bill number. There will be, it will be given an act number. It'll
Okay.
become, that's how these are referenced after the Senate side could have a bill and the House side could have a bill. They could be about the same thing, but then it becomes an act. And
Okay.
I'm sure
Because see,
that
Act
she's looked it up.
314,
Act 314 of 2025?
regular session? Okay, thank you for, hold on, I'm just gonna,
That language won't be added to the ordinance. That language was added to the sheet that JP Rio Stafford sent out
Right.
just for informational purposes, to say, hey, there was a bill passed. It did pass, it did get signed by the governor. It will go into effect. And so, but that won't be in the ordinance itself, a reference to the bill or act.
okay. I just want to make sure that we're reading the same proposed bill. And House Bill 1510 has been signed by the governor, correct?
Yes, you're correct, JP Ecke. It was House Bill 1510, which is now Act 314.
314, okay, well, Arkansas.
Of 2025.
Legislative Act 314, 2025. I don't know why it's still pulling up something completely different concerning sexual solicitation.
That might be Senate Bill 314.
I just put act, yeah.
Right, they could have the
So
same bill
I just
numbers.
wanted to make sure that we're both reading the same thing. So
Yeah,
if
I
we
appreciate
reference
that.
House Bill 1510, it would be,
Well, like I said, we won't, in the ordinance, we
Similar.
won't reference the bill.
okay,
That's for informational purposes only, just so we know what that bill is, so that we can correct it.
okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
JP Lemon?
Question for Brian. If the cities lose their growth area, does that come back to us or the state?
Comes to us.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
So you guys planning's about to get a whole lot more active, just to let you know, because there's a lot of things that go on in that extraterritorial growth area that we don't really get into that we will now.
Congratulations, Director Ada.
We already had meetings today about this.
Any other discussion? Okay, so I have a motion to amend by JP Stafford and a second by JP Heyer. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Okay, that amendment passes. The second amendment we have for this is, again, to correct an issue that I found when I was rereading the final after the last meeting. And it goes back to having to do with appeals. So the basis here, there's terminology in section 4C 2A regarding appeal procedures of the planning board decisions. And I want to make sure we all understand. Section 4 defines design standards that the planning board decides to apply to an applicant's proposal that they will have to use. Those design standards address things like fire flow tanks, flood hazard areas, residential lot and block standards for subdivisions, lot and block standards or mobile home parks, street design criteria for land development, sidewalks, storm drainage, culverts and bridges, payment sections designed for land developments, requirements for improving off-site roads, water system for land developments, sanitary sewer systems for land development, dedication of land for public park sites, health department permit required, community sewer systems, flood hazard areas, gated communities, large-scale developments, and hazard chemicals. This section, which is in 4C2A, addresses the appeals based on the items that the planning board decides on those design standards. And I think that was a little confusing given a lot of the discussion we had over the last several months in this area. So in my amendment, I propose amending section 4C2, which said the following appeal procedures have been established, and that's all it said. My interpretation of that was that this appeal procedure was for those items in section 4. I don't think everybody had the same interpretation. So I propose we add language to the end of that that says for decisions regarding this article, I think there was a recommendation, maybe we say this section, section 4, which I'm fine with that. You want to make that change? Okay. Again, just trying to not allow interpretation so we all understand what this appeal process is affecting. It's those decisions that the planning board has made on those design standards. If the applicant or the citizen disagrees with what the planning board has identified it should be, those are appealed to whatever the procedure is that we continue with, okay? Hopefully that helps that understanding from that standpoint. Then the following sections talk through who the appeal goes to. We had an amendment that changed it to the Quorum Court. I do not believe the Quorum Court is the right party to decide appeals on design standards that we've talked about. And I really don't think we want these coming to the Quorum Court. So I'm changing, my proposal is to change all those back from Quorum Court to County Judge. So for in C2AI, where it reads, the developer or owner of any property adjacent to the proposed land development may appeal the decision of the planning board to the now county judge instead of Quorum Court by filling out notice, blah, 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 blah. Also in 4C2AII, on the first line is changing Quorum Court back to county judge. 4C2AII, yeah, there's several reference, and basically is what we're doing here, okay? I believe this resolves the problem because later on in this section, there's a subsection in there that if we leave it at Quorum Court, we can't leave the subsection basically. So we got two options. This, I believe, is the best option because, again, it takes us out of those design standard decisions, which I don't think we as a Quorum Court should be part of.
So you've made a motion?
I can't make a motion.
Oh.
J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You make the motion. Are you making a motion? Oh.
I make a motion. Thank you, sir.
I thought I did. Oh, I missed her.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make an amendment, a motion to accept the zoning amendment.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the amendment and a second discussion. J.P. Lopez?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I do have a question. So this would situate us where anything that is, I suppose, the more minutia, the engineering part of it, that would go to the county judge, correct? We would still retain appeals for other matters.
Later in the ordinance, right, there's another section about appeals that directly addresses the appeals of the planning board for what I'm going to start calling the zoning decision, right? Okay. Whatever the planning board does, if that appeal, that comes to the Quorum Court still, is in the ordinance. We make a decision and then that can be appealed to the circuit court, just as it is today. That is correct.
Decisions to grant or deny a conditional use permit can only come to the legislative body. You can't, there's no way that you could even legislate that to a different elected official. That is a legislative branch, constitutionally protected function that only you all can make those decisions. So those conditional use permits, which are akin to zoning decisions, have to come to the court. That's correct. The enforcement part of this is you have adopted over the years certain standards by which Washington County must apply. The executive branch is the enforcement arm of the legislative branch, which is why the executive branch enforces those, which is why Sam Atta and his team apply those standards that you have passed and other laws, state and federal laws. I don't know in the 9 years that I've been here that anything like this has ever been appealed to the county judge. But these would be very small design changes that maybe were passed or missed that need to be added, that can be done without it having to go back through the entire process. Now, the quorum court certainly can do that. I will say there were probably some issues because what you do is the way you act is in passing laws. So you would technically be passing a new law every time you made one of these decisions, which could get very burdensome. Just to say, but that's completely up to you to make those decisions. But yes, the zoning part has to come to the quorum court. No way around it.
Thank you for that clarification. That did help, Councilman.
Thank you. JP Koger?
I was just gonna ask if we could have maybe, thank you, Mr. Chair. If we could have maybe 10 minutes to look at this. I'm trying to listen to what people are saying. I'm still trying to go through your list. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes to just look it over.
Okay, let's finish discussion. We'll go ahead if that's okay. JP Stafford?
Sure, and then I'll make a motion for a 10-minute break. I'm in favor of this, and I'm the one who originally asked to have it changed. Because the intention was when we were moving over to zoning, this was the only section that had any sort of appeal in it. The intention being, I think that before we've now put this back together to be exactly the way, to have, with the CUPs in it, to be exactly the process that we've always had, right? And so making this amendment will be part of that, putting things back to how it's always been. These appeals have always gone to the county judge. The appeals for CUPs have always gone to us. That section, when we took out commercial zoning, I think last month, we put back in everything related to conditional use permits, including the appeals process. So I don't want us to have, I'm in favor of this because I don't want us to have two conflicting and confusing appeals processes, and for appeals on things like culverts and sewer systems that we have never heard, those don't need to start coming to us. So I'm in favor of this amendment for those reasons. And I move that we take a 5-minute break.
Unless more is needed. Yeah, I would say reconvene in 5.
Okay, so I have a motion to take a 5-minute break in a second. Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, 5 minutes, we'll make it, we'll just round up. We'll make it 6:55. It's just in the ordinance in another section. Okay.
Yes, it is in the ordinance in another section, but then, those decisions come to the full court, yes. But it is also state law. Right, and that was. So you wouldn't have to pass something in order, we operate by state law, whether we, we don't wanna get in the habit of having to adopt state law every time they pass something, so. Right. Yeah. And the courts have upheld that right numerous times, that is the legislative branch has the authority, the only body that has the authority to make the zoning changes.
Okay. If you go down where it talks about the cup and those type of things and how that process is off, it's in that section. Okay, and that's the section where. That's the section where it talks about appeals to the planning board decision on the cup. They go to legislature. Makes sense. Well, it comes to us whether it's appealed or not, because we have to ratify it with our.
And Robert. There he is.
JP Lemming?
Question I was going to ask a while ago was, if the freedom zoning does not pass, and you just mentioned the appeals would have to appeal the zoning part of it. Now, how's that going to work?
Well, if you look further in the ordinance, down.
Okay, tell me where it's at.
Further
down, okay.
Down in the cup area, section 5, down in where it talks about the cup and going through the cup process, and the planning board makes a decision, and then that's appealed to the quorum court. And we make a decision. Of course, it comes to us to be ratified regardless of appeal, but they can appeal it to us. And then if they don't like our decision, they can appeal it to the circuit court. That's, I think it's section 5. I can find it and send it to you. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay. But I noticed you said planning, the zoning would be the appeal. appeal the zoning?
Because really, in my mind, after going through all we went through, in my mind, when the planning board either approves or disapproves the CUP, it's their recommendation to approve or disapprove the rezoning of that parcel to commercial or whatever. And then that comes to us to ratify, because we're the only ones that can say you can rezone that from agriculture.
So basically, it's going to go back, is still to stay the CUP process?
Stay exactly the
just
CUP
like it
process.
is.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Thank you.
JP Koger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Quorum Court will be hearing conditional use permit appeals. What about variances? Variances requests, we will be hearing those?
No, variances stay the same process they were under the old CUP process, that we don't hear those. I don't think we ever heard those, right?
Okay. I want to support this, but I don't think we should be passing it tonight when the public hasn't seen it. And
Well, we're amending it, we're not passing it, we're amending it, so it can go to the planning board, special meeting, so the public can see it, make comment on it, et cetera, and then it comes back for us to decide to pass it, whatever.
I understand that, but I just think we should let the public have input of what we're doing before we send it to the back to the planning board, because these are major changes. That's why I'll be voting against it.
Thank you. JP Bruns?
Okay, just so I can get things straight, it appears to me that what we're doing here tonight is we're just trying to tag this along so it can start the process over again. Is that correct?
We're trying to get.
So we're not really voting anything in other than we want this piece of paper that Rio Stafford has suggested to tag along with the rest of the process and go through planning and then come right up the ladder to us. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me say it a little different way, but yes, I believe you are correct in the way you state it. And the way I would state it is we're trying to get the ordinance to the point that we've resolved all the issues. So the ordinance will be updated with these amendments. Then it'll go to the planning board for the special meeting, and then once it's done in the special meeting, it comes back to the Quorum Court to actually vote on passing it or not passing it.
And that would be the whole zoning ordinance
That's that
together.
whole new zoning ordinance that we've done, we've put together, we put the CUP process back in it, so
Okay.
we have one ordinance for
And then
everything.
we'll go through committee.
It won't go back through committee, it'll go planning board, back to Quorum Court for a vote.
Why will it not go to committee? No, it has not been.
Well, I mean, we can take it back to committee. if
We
that-
need to
that's
take it
what-
back to
that
committee.
we wish. Would that come back here and then, how would we do that, Counselor? How would we do that?
Well, you would move to sit. So the motion would be to refer this back for a public hearing at the planning board, and then from there, it would be put on, after that hearing, it'll be put on the county services committee.
Yes, sir.
Do we have to specify that in the motion in any way? Because originally. it was
Well, right now, we
already-
just got the motion to amend.
Right.
So once we get to the motion to.
Then we do a
then we
motion,
motion.
but that would be part of the motion to
Correct.
planning and then.
Yes.
That needs to be all part of that. Okay,
Correct.
thank you. Okay. So
And
right
then
now.
we go to the quorum court,
Yeah,
correct?
so right now, we'll vote on the amendment. And then the next thing is, we'll need a motion to, what do we do with it next? And then if that motion is to send it to planning, then to county services.
Okay, so then I make my motion after we.
After
either
we
pass.
amend, yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion to amend by JP Ecke, seconded by Stafford, motion by Stafford, by Hires, that's why I write it.
By Ecke, seconded by JP Rio Stafford.
That's the wrong one. Yes, thank you. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. It passes, so the ordinance will be amended for both of the amendments presented tonight. JP Bruns?
I'd like to make a motion that we run this ordinance through planning to committees, services, and then to Quorum Court, that would give the public 3 different entities to be able to give us as much discussion as possible. And I think that's the process we're known to go through anyway, so I'm asking for that.
Okay, so I have an amendment by J.P. Bruns to send this to the planning board, after the planning board to take it to county services, and a second by J.P. Lopez. I left Quorum Court out because that's what we do in county services. We vote to pass it on to the Quorum Court. You okay? We good with that? Okay, good, thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion? J.P. Ricker?
I just want to make sure sending it back to planning does involve a public meeting at planning, right?
Yeah, and that'll occur on May 1st. Yes, sir. Other discussion? J.P. Koger?
Yes, so just to be clear, once it goes back to the county services, what if there's amendments that we want to make that night? Will we be prohibited from making amendments?
No, you can absolutely make amendments. Then it'll have to go back to a planning board meeting.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
Anytime you make an amendment, it'll have to go back to the planning board meeting and then come back to the committee.
J.P. Stafford?
Thank you. I'm trying to pull up the calendar on this iPad, but I haven't been able to do it. Do we know, is this going to delay sending it to the committee? Is that going to push us back by a Quorum Court meeting, or are we still going to be able to? No, okay.
No, yeah, it will, because May 1st is the planning board. The next county services is the last week of the last Monday of this month. So we would delay that a month.
So this is going to delay it by a month in getting it back to the Quorum Court. I'm going to vote no.
Okay. J.P. Wilson?
Well, I was going to speak on the same subject. I pulled my calendar up, and I think after May 1st, the next county services meeting would be May 26th. So I just want to clarify,
End of May,
if
1st
that's
of
what we
June.
want to do, that's the timeline we're on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That means it'll hit the June Quorum Court then, if it's passed.
So it'll be the June Quorum Court meeting in which this is addressed if it gets there.
We can talk about that. Yeah, so council reminded us we could do a special county services meeting to do it, and we can discuss that in the county services, I would think. I don't think we need to decide that today, unless you want to debate that.
No, I was just asking a question, making
Okay,
that point.
you good? Okay.
Yeah.
J.P. Bruns?
Oh, so what's the
Runs.
hurry? I mean, what's the rush in not just going ahead and doing it in June?
My understanding that we took this path to get all the standards and everything resituated so that the planning department could resume regular business with the process and the standards required to go through the process. So I think we're just trying to get an ordinance back in place that they have to proceed with.
Well, as the judge said a couple of meetings ago, that we've been in this thing for 2 years. What's another 30 days? I just don't see the big rush.
Okay. Appreciate that. J.P. Ecke?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In sending this back to planning, and they have a public hearing in planning, correct?
Yes.
To discuss this.
Yes.
It does not have to come back to committee. It can go to the Quorum Court for approval,
It could.
correct?
It could.
A lot of this has to do with individuals that don't have a lot of resources or deep pockets that are trying to move forward with their project, and the process is so nebulous for them, and delaying it does cost individuals a lot of money, sometimes money that they don't have just because we're delaying it. We had a unprecedented 3-hour and 58-minute county services meeting to discuss all of this, and I do believe a lot of it was covered. I would urge my colleagues to send this to planning. Let everybody know there's going to be a public hearing, so public can have their comment and their input. And then when it comes back to the quorum court, there's going to be another public comment time, without the delays and without having to put up roadblocks for those that are trying to move forward with their project. That's the way I see it. I agree with my colleague, Rio Stafford, that we don't need to send it back to committee. Let's just send it back to planning, let the public hear it, send it to quorum court, let the public talk about it, and any amendments that need to be made that night, we can make amendments that night. So that is the way I feel about it. Thank you, sir.
J.P. Koger?
Thank you very much. I just want to say that what we're talking about is something that's going to change the way Washington County looks forever. So this is not a delay. This is giving people more chances to see what we're doing, to get more public input. Of course, the more input we get, the better decisions we make.
J.P. Bruns?
Yes, and we also, I'm going to make sure everybody saw the paper today that where the Northwest Arkansas Council is trying to get Benton and Washington County together to talk about growth and how we're going to institute the growth process. And so, you know, we need to keep watch of that, because if we make some big ordinance change here, we may be changing it again. Okay? Who would have thought that they would have knocked out, the legislator would have knocked out that 2-mile radius for cities? I just never would have thought that would happen. But anyway, so I think we need to keep that in mind while we're going through this process. And Ms. Eggy, I have no roadblock intention here. And I promise you, I do as much development as anybody, and I'm very much aware of the delays. So thank you for your input, though.
Thank you, sir. J.P. Lopez?
Yeah, I think I do have to parrot that sentiment that I do understand that this might push it back, but it's not with the intention of frivolously pushing it back. It's not with the intention of us, you know, not being productive or not wanting to get something done. It's about wanting to put something out the first time that everyone's had a chance to look at, everyone's had their chance to make their comments. So when we do make a decision, we can all be confident in that decision. I think, as other justices have alluded to, they did not feel confident to move forward having just read this document and having just read this amendment. If we don't have that second committee meeting, what we're looking at is that we'll just be in the exact same place that we are today. And I think we do want to temper some of those apprehensions, and the best way to do that would be to give them one more committee meeting to look at it, to feel confident with what they've read, to have the public feel confident with what they've read, and then know the next time that this question comes before us, everyone is confident and ready to make the decision and ready to stand by the decision that they make. Thank you. Chair.
You. J.P. Dennis?
On one hand, I was wanting to slow things down, and another hand, I want to speed things up. My question, I guess, really for, if I could, for Attorney Lester, is where are we right now in between this time? Otherwise,
We have what's currently has been in place. I'm trying to make this easy for you all.
currently,
You're not,
I'm sorry.
the current planning code that we have, which basically is this exact thing that you're arguing about, needing the public to have more time to come and talk to you about, taken from 100 documents to 1. I mean, that literally, it's the equivalent of adding a comma to 100 documents, and we need more and more public comment. You're not changing anything. I just got to point that out. I hear this. You've not made any changes. The zoning part was the change. Y'all took that out and put the CUP process back in. It's literally the exact same thing, except it's one document that now we can codify and put up in the county clerk's office so people can find it instead of having to research 100+ ordinances to find the same thing. Literally, it's no change. So we're really talking about adding a comma to, and we need a lot more public comment. Don't get me wrong, the public has the right and should come in and tell us, but it's not like there's some big wholesale change you're making. You're not. We're trying to get, we really are doing this to make it easier for the public to find and search and review, because it's really hard, even for developers that do this in Washington County all the time. And so because of how it had been done in the past, where the county had amended codified code, which you can't do, we can't even codify it. The AAC can't even put this out. So when you get to the zoning part, there's nothing in our code of codification. There's nothing there except for a list of 100+ ordinances. So hey, go find it, figure it out, because it's nowhere in there right now. I would really like to get that done. We can give everybody a copy of that codified code. We can put several books up in the county clerk's office, and it's easy for people to come in and look for what they're looking for. We're really, that's holding this whole codification thing up, is this. So that's really all we're doing. There's not really any other changes that have been made to this. So anyways, for what it's worth.
Thank you.
Other discussion? JP Hires?
I just want to go back and tell us what a yes vote means here and what a no vote means here, just to clarify that.
Okay, yes, I will do that. Yes, ma'am. Third time. Other discussions? Cool. Okay, so this is we're voting on a motion to send the zoning ordinance to the planning board for a meeting, which is currently scheduled for 5/1, a public meeting for public comment. Once it's done there, to send it to the county services, to go through the county services, who, if ready to pass, would send it back to the quorum court in the county service. It's not part of the motion, but in the county services, we send back stuff back here, right? So a yes vote is it's going to go to the planning board, then the county services. A no vote would be it's going to the planning board and back to the quorum court, I assume, Counselor. Is that correct?
No, I think a no vote, you would be back to the issue of what do you do with it now?
We need a new motion.
Yeah, you need a new motion.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification. JP Lemming?
Somewhere, I'd like to have in writing, not on the computer, not on the phone, in writing, kind of like that we used to get our budgets, of exactly what we're going to have at the end of the day. That tells us word for word. After we get this amendment sent to there and sent to there, I would like to have what we're doing, so I can sit down.
You want the ordinance printed out,
I want the whole thing, the whole new planning, I want to be able to go sit on my throne and read it and tell exactly what it says.
I will do that for you.
That way we know, instead of argue and fuss and fight.
JP Hires?
Thank you, Chair. I don't know the proper motion, but I would like to make an amendment to send it, instead of to take out the county services part and send it directly to quorum court.
Second.
We have to vote on that first, right? Okay. So I have an amendment by JP Hires, and I'm sorry, was it JP Stafford? Seconded it to remove the county services from the motion and make it a motion to go to the planning board.
The amended motion, it's a motion to amend to send to the planning board only, because it'll have to come back to the quorum court after that.
Yeah, thank you. Any discussion on the amendment to the motion? Sorry? I'll bring it to you, okay? JP Lopez?
So irrespective of what happens in front of the planning board, it would come back to the quorum court? Okay.
Other discussion? You want to say something?
No, because I don't want to confuse anybody.
Thank you.
I'll say it after the fact.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment to the motion to take county services out of it, which will leave the motion to send this zoning ordinance to the planning board. Had the motion for the amendment by J.P. Hires, second by J.P. Stafford.
Point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
Can whoever make the motion to send it to county services, can they just withdraw their amendment? Because what we're voting on is really what the original amendment was anyway. So can whoever made the motion to send it to county services, if they just withdraw it, then we go back?
No. And let me tell you why.
Oh, sorry. Forgot my job.
So JP Ecky's motion was to amend. The only motion that we've had to send it anywhere was JP Bruns. He was the one that made the motion. So technically, this is the proper motion to take this up first, and if that happens, then it nullifies his emotion, and then that's where we are.
I'm sorry, I thought that the original motion was to send it to the.
There was no, that was the, his is with the original.
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's why I was confused.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Withdrawn.
J.P. Massengill.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're saying it wrong or I'm misunderstanding. You say this motion, this is an amendment to the motion to send it back to planning?
No. So J.P. Bruns made a motion to send it to the planning board, then to the county services. J.P. Hires made a motion to amend that motion to remove the county services part of it.
Okay, and it would go straight to?
Just go to
the full quorum
And then
court.
we'd come back and vote on the amended motion, which would just go to the planning board and then back to the quorum court.
Okay.
Okay? So just make sure, apologize. So we're voting on the amendment to amend the motion to send the ordinance to the planning board, then to county services, to pull county services out of that motion.
Correct.
Everybody good? All those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed, no? No. I think the ayes have it. So now we have a motion to send the ordinance to the planning board, and then it's not in the motion because it comes back to the quorum court automatically. So the motion is to send this to the planning board for the public meeting and public comment. Is that, would that be J.P. Bruns still? Because since we amended it?
Amended, right, it's the motion.
Or the amender is made the motion. Sorry.
The motion by JP Bruns has been amended to send it to the planning board. So we have an amended motion, now we're voting on the amended motion.
But who would have made the motion then?
That goes back to
It's
the
still his
main
mo-
motion
it's
that
still
was
his
made by
motion. Okay.
JP Bruns.
So it's still J.P. Bruns' motion, and J.P. Lopez seconded it. Okay? All those in favor, aye? Aye. All those opposed, no? Okay, that passes. The ordinance will go to the planning board, and then we'll come back to the quorum court for vote on passage.
Committee reports are in the packet.
Yep, committee reports are in the packet.